How's it going, everyone? Welcome to the first episode of This Week in Hockey. So, today we will be discussing everything from the first week of the NHL from January 13th to January 16th. Uh, as I'm recording this, there's actually a game on between the Penguins and the Capitals right now. I don't know who's winning. I believe it's tied, but I know Ovechkin just scored. So, yeah. Anyways, the first off, we're going to cover the Western Division. So the Anaheim Ducks go into Vegas, and well, I'll cover Vegas in this section too. And the Anaheim Ducks go into Vegas. They lose 5-2, and then last night they lost 2-1 in overtime. So the Ducks come out 0-1-1, and the Knights come out 2-0. So it wasn't a great week for the Ducks, but the Ducks are still kind of a rebuilding team. They're still getting better. They didn't have Zegras. So I'm not really going to judge how well the Ducks are going to do until the end of the season. Next up, the Arizona Coyotes played 2 games against the San Jose Sharks. The first game, they lost in overtime, and the second game, they beat the Sharks handily. I watched part of that game. There was just a sequence there, and oh boy, Martin Jones. Will he ever have a save percentage above 900? Probably not, as long as he's on the Sharks. I thought Arizona and San Jose were pretty even. So, yeah. Colorado had 2 games in St. Louis. I thought St. Louis handled Colorado pretty heavily on that first game. But then Colorado beat them 8-0 in the second game, so I don't really know how to rank St. Louis's week, but Colorado had a decent one, so I guess I'll say St. Louis had a decent one too. So both those teams are 1-1 coming out of this. The LA Kings and the Minnesota Wild had a series, and the LA Kings lost both games in overtime, and the Minnesota Wild, they beat them. Kaprizov looks pretty good with that goal in overtime and that assist on that last overtime goal. So yeah, those are how the West is. The standings right now, according to NHL.com, is Vegas in first, Minnesota in second, Arizona in third, Colorado in fourth, St. Louis in fifth, San Jose in sixth, LA in seventh, and Anaheim in eighth. These are really going to move out and become a lot of the standings, and the statistics are going to change a lot, especially as the season goes on. I mean, some teams have only played 2 games so far, so it's a little hard to rank. And especially the defensemen were hard to rank because not a lot of defensemen have a good amount of points yet. So, yeah. Next up, the Northern Division. Calgary, they handled Edmonton pretty well. Sorry, Vancouver last night. So Calgary comes out 1-0-1, and then their rival across the border, Edmonton, or not across the border, but in Alberta. Sorry, they did not have the greatest week. They lost their first game to Vancouver, but then they beat Vancouver with McDavid getting a hat trick in the second game, and then they lost pretty bad to Montreal yesterday. So yeah, so Edmonton comes out of this with 1-2. Then Montreal, 1-0-1. They lost their opener to Toronto. I believe it was 5-4 in overtime. And then they beat Edmonton pretty handily yesterday. Then Ottawa and Toronto had a series. Ottawa had a split with them. Ottawa beat them pretty soundly in that first game, but Toronto really came back in the yesterday and really proved themselves. So yeah, so Ottawa's 1-1, Toronto's 2-1. Vancouver's 1-2. Vancouver has split with Edmonton, and they lost yesterday handily to Calgary. So yeah, I'm shocked that Winnipeg's only played 1 game, but they won it. They beat Calgary in overtime, and yeah. So the standings in the Northern Division right now are Toronto, Montreal, Calgary, Winnipeg, Ottawa, Edmonton, and Vancouver. It's pretty impressive that there's not a winless team in the North. Next up, we have the Central Division. So the Central Division, Carolina had a series with Detroit, where I'm shocked that Detroit's got a split out of it. So Detroit and Carolina are 1-1. If you're Carolina, that might be a little concerning, but remember, we're only 2 games in, and it's very early. You still have 6 more games against Detroit that you can split. Uh, yeah. Next up, the Chicago Blackhawks. I have no room to talk, considering that I like the Chicago Blackhawks, and they got decked by the Tampa Bay Lightning. I wasn't expecting them to win, but oh boy, this is going to be a tough year. Please, Malcolm Subban, I love you, man. Please get a good save percentage this year. Just do it for me, please. I'm rooting for you. Just please do it, please. So Chicago comes out 0-2, and obviously Tampa Bay comes out 2-0. Then the Columbus Blue Jackets had a series against Nashville. Columbus lost both games in regulation, and Nashville won both games in regulation. Those were 2 of the games that I paid a little bit less attention to than others, probably because they were both on nights with the Vegas games on, and just for some reason I paid less attention to them. But yeah, Nashville handled Columbus pretty handily, at least based on the scores. So, yeah. And then Dallas and Florida, they had a great series. You know how great it was? They didn't even play it because Dallas decided, let's have a dance with Lady Coronavirus. So, yep. So Florida, I think they play either tomorrow or today. But, yeah, Dallas doesn't play till the 22nd, which is next Friday. And yeah, they had, I believe, 10 games rescheduled. So, yikes. So the standings in the Central are Tampa Bay, Nashville, Carolina, Detroit, Dallas, Florida, Columbus, and Chicago. Because of Dallas and Florida, there are 4 teams without a point in that Central Division. So it seems like those games may not be, or at least that that division may not be the closest when it comes to the playoffs versus the people that don't. And finally, we have the Eastern Division. Boston had a split with New Jersey. It's kind of concerning if you're a Boston fan, considering they haven't scored a goal against New Jersey 5-on-5. I thought New Jersey played very, very well in both games. Both teams are 1-0-1 because both games ended in overtime. And yeah, Boston is a little concerning that they couldn't score a goal 5-on-5 against the Devils. It's not a team known for defense. Next up, Buffalo had a little series with Washington, and I feel bad for Buffalo. Buffalo played really well in that series, but they just couldn't beat Washington. Washington took both games in regulation, and so yeah, Washington is 2-0, and Buffalo is 0-2. And the Islanders and Rangers had the biggest split of games I may have ever seen. At least maybe St. Louis, Colorado this week. The Islanders beat the Rangers in the first game 4-0. And then in the second game, the Rangers beat the Islanders 5-0. Just a complete opposite. Capo Caco scored a goal. One thing that, we're looking out for is when will Alexis Lafreniere score his first goal or even his first point. So, yeah. And then lastly, Philadelphia versus Pittsburgh. Philadelphia handily took Pittsburgh. 2-0 for Philadelphia and 0-2 for Pittsburgh. So, the standings for the Eastern Division are Philadelphia, Washington, New Jersey, Boston, the Rangers, the Islanders, the Sabres, and the Penguins. So yeah, let's move on to the top 10 forwards in the league according to scoring, and on NHL.com, this is their list. Number 1, McDavid. Number 2, Konechny. Number 3, Tavares. Number 4, Stamkos. Number 5, Draisaitl. Number 6, Tomas Hertl. Number 7, William Nylander. Number 8, Marner. Number 9, Joel Farabee. And number 10, Tomas Tatar. I thought it was funny that Tatar was number 10, considering that, 12 players have 3 points in these games, and Tatar just happened to be the guy that they had at the top. And my top 5 defensemen. So, there was only one defenseman on the points chart, and that was Jeff Petrie. So I had to go to plus minus, and Toronto fans are going to be a little upset because the top 4 in plus minus. Top 2 in plus minus are Shabbat and Nikita Zaitsev. Okay. And Mikhail Sergachev is number 3, and Joel Edmondson is number 4. So, and then the top 3 goalies in the league, this will change mightily, considering all 3 of these goalies have 1,000 save percentages. Georgiev, Varlamov, and Vanacek. That's not going to stay alive for a while. I only goalie I could probably see still being there at the end of the year is maybe Varlamov, but hey, we'll see. So anyways, guys, that was This Week in Hockey. I hope you enjoyed this first video. I will be coming out with these videos every Sunday. And yeah, there will be much more games to talk about next week because we started on Wednesday and Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday had no games. Some teams might even play 4 or 5 games in a week instead of just 2. So, anyways, guys, that is it for this video. I will see you in the next one.